Hello students, welcome back to yet another video session for BBA Semester 4, Image Management and Personal Branding. We are talking about Chapter 8 today, which is another part of creating brand identity, Part 2. Chapter 8 is all about creating brochures and postcards for your company. Now, since we were talking in the last class about creating personal branding material for your particular company, which is going to help you for many years, almost a decade is what I would say. After that, you would want to make a little changes here and there depending on the change in the hierarchy in the company, depending on the change in the ideologies, or probably a little bit of change with the trending new generation that you want to target again. Moving on, let's talk about chapter number 8, personal brochure and personal postcard. So now what you have to do is, to begin with, at this juncture you already know how to create your company name, your company logo, your company slogan, and a graphic that goes along with that. Now that you already have made those particular few material for your particular brand, now is the time to create a brochure for your company. What is a brochure? It is basically a 3-panel really nice high quality paper that tells a story about you. Now remember, brochures and postcards are not selling things, they do not sell, they are not selling tools. Now remember, brochure and postcard are not selling tools for your company. Just the way a business card actually gives a sense of personal touch and creating a rapport with the person, it may help you create some business later on, but a brochure and a postcard are the only two material in a branding term, in a branding company that does not believe in selling anything from these material. It is basically to create a rapport or a relationship with your clients and your customers, or it can be just anyone who is helping you create references also. So brochures, what are the uses of brochures? One, you can hand it over to people during, if there is any press conferences, if there are media houses gathered at a particular place, you handle your brochures to them and you tell them what is the latest thing that your company is doing, what is the story of your company, where you began from, who are the forefathers, where do you come from. So if you see any particular jewelry store brochure, they actually give you a brochure for every new collection that they launch. So it can be one for a very specific theme, such as women who are working 9 to 5 just as much as men do. Tiny small jewelry that make them look glamorous or make them feel feminine even when they are working in a completely man-dominated field or anything like that. There can be another brochure for a hospital which is really concentrating only on the cardiothoracic surgeries that are happening. The hospital can have many surgeries happening on the same floor, but it is specifically concentrating on one particular thing. It can talk about the surgeons who are doing all these cardiac surgeries. It can talk about where they studied from, what is the story, how did they come to know that they want to become a cardiothoracic surgeon someday, what really drives them to help people around, what are the other things, other such small achievements that they have been doing. For example, a surgeon can also be a certified bungee jumping, whatever that it is called, somebody who is really interested in having pets at home and has a small a small place specially curated for domestic pets in his house. A surgeon can also be someone who loves doing storytelling to kids on the weekends, and he or she is traveling all around the globe for doing storytelling sessions, and those weekends are only for those. There can be various stories. So what happens is, when I feel connected to a particular doctor who's also doing storytelling, something that I also do as part of my KRA, I feel connected to that particular doctor, and I would want to meet that specific doctor in that specific hospital whenever the need arises. When I'm talking about a particular a theme that the jewelry store has they have come up with, I am definitely going to visit that particular store rather than go to my regular jeweler and ask him to show me certain jewelry for working women, because I know these particular people have given me a brochure which talks about these things, right? And so is the thing with postcard. We'll come to that later on. But when you are actually creating a relationship with a brochure with your clients and with your prospective cold clients, it actually helps you create new ones in the future, or turn the cold prospects into the hot ones. What are the other uses of a brochure? It can be given to various people who are visiting your booth, even in an exhibit, or if you are participating in certain events and you have come there as a speaker. There are certain stationery and kits being given to people who are participating in those seminars or events. You can always slide in your brochure as one of the speakers. Now, when you are sliding in a brochure in a particular seminar kit, it basically means you are here to talk to them, to build a relationship with them, and you do not mean to come here and sell across your product or your business, right? You basically want to just let people know who you are, what is your story, and so on. Another use of brochure is to send it across to your regular clients, send across few more copies to them so that they can use those copies and give it away to their friends, family, their business people as a professional referral. And that always helps, keeping a brochure around in certain places like a theater, like a hospital, like a library rack, or anything that or any place where your particular target audience comes very often. If you have a rack of your brochures right next to some place where it is easily it's actually pickable and people start reading it, that actually means you have tried across to sell your story. You are trying to let people know who you are, what your brand is, and you are not selling them or forcing them to come to your particular store or your website and buy the things or the services, right? At least brochures are helpful when you are trying to do a lot of PR work. So you just cannot have meetings held with people every now and then. So you create brochures and you mail it across, or you send it across to people who are handling PR, and they are very professional people, and if they feel connected to your brand, if they feel connected to your story, they'll definitely do a lot more than is being asked from them from your company. Moving on, yes, it also there's also a very nice point written in the book. It says that the product doesn't sell, it's the personality that sells. So once people know who you are, once people know your story, it is definitely going to be helpful for you in the future to create business, even if it is not happening at this particular point. And of course, you have trade shows happening, and you have certain special events happening, important events that you are participating in. And if you are carrying your brochures, it is always good to give your brochures instead of a visiting card. A business card, yes, is important. It actually is one of the first things that represents you on behalf of your brand or on behalf of your company. But it is also true that on the other side, Business cards are actually dying day by day. Nobody carries business cards. People just quickly exchange their numbers. They stay in touch on WhatsApp. They send their e-business card, visiting cards, but a brochure will remain with them for a really long time. So even if they have your name fed in their particular contact list, and they're like, hi, I am from this and this company, I represent this company, we talked about it, we met at this particular event. But imagine if they forgot, imagine if they forget a few days down the line who you are. They are going to simply look at the contact and like, I don't remember who this person is, and they might just delete your number. But if a brochure is staying on their table for at least 2 to 3 days in a row, they're definitely going to pick it up and read it once, and if required, they're going to call you back. A brochure is also one of the things that helps you try and create friends in a particular company or in a particular brand which is exactly working for your competition. It is possible that you might not be really good friends with them, but meeting them personally, and if they know the story behind your company, if they start knowing you personally, even if that competition is never gonna die, but at least they build certain relationship with you, and they start trusting you, or they start having respect for the work that you are doing, which is also more important in this current situation, right? And the two most important thing that a brochure does for you is, number one, it tells people who you are, it tells your story. It is a cornerstone for your brand. If people start knowing you, who you are, it is definitely worth giving a shot to do business with them. So for example, if I know about 2 young girls from a university who thought that there's just too much of modernism and too much of inspiration from the West happening, and people have slowly stopped using Indian ethnic things, and I want to start my own brand along with my friend who is ready to invest some time and would really want Indian Kolhapuri chappals to be there on the spotlight. And so slowly they both started working, and if I know that story about them of how they turned the entire Indian fashion world and made people and celebrities started wearing her Kolhapuri jutis and chappals and all, I might start having a connection with that particular 2 girls, and that might be one of the reasons why I would want to buy that brand, because I know the story about how they started it, right? There are too many firms, too many small little startups that you know about in India, and when you come to know, this was started by 2 boys who are from IIM Ahmedabad, and they felt the need that this needs to be there in the culture, that needs to be told to, we should give back to the society, and this is how they did, this is what they did. Once you hear a particular story, you start connecting with them emotionally. You start building a silent relationship with that particular firm and its ideology, and that is exactly what is important at this particular juncture. When you are trying not to sell things, you're only trying to build certain prospects. Moving on, the second thing that a brochure does for you is it actually tries and connects you with all those cold prospects who have stopped coming and buying from your particular brand or investing in your services. They actually try and turn their cold prospects into a good number of people who might or will think of investing again in your brand. And that is also important, like we have always discussed in class, that you start earning only when the particular client comes back to you for the 2nd or the 4th time, or a returning customer is what we call them. Moving on, there are 5 steps to creating a great personal brochure. I would really want you to start reading your chapter number 8. And there are just too many small details, but I'll roughly go through them. It's written in beautiful English, simple English language, and you'll be able to understand it. But to begin with, Number one, pick up a single leading attribute. Step number one, yes, you need an objective, right? Your objective can be anything. It should be something that is a benefit for the people, a benefit that either they'll start knowing you as a person, or that benefit can be anything about a value or a feature of your brand that you would like to tell across to people and put it as a story about how you began with. It can be one of the things that benefits the people who are also reading your particular brochure, and something that you have contributed greatly for the company or the brand. Step number two, make it extremely personal, make it like it is a story. And also, yes, because we are trying to create a rapport, because we are trying to build a relationship, it definitely has to be something that is candid, something that is personal, and something that even Wikipedia will not tell about your brand until unless this brochure is launched and then it is listed on a particular website. Yes, small little things like if you are for example, if you have seen all those particular shows like Indian Idol, like Dance India Dance, all those reality shows, they show a small video of people who are participating in that particular show, and it talks about how this person was coming from a very deprived family, or this person had a lot of hindrances while growing up, and how the person has tried to overcome from all those hindrances, and now that person is on the stage, the person wants to really show the talent and everything. So apart from the dancing and the singing and the acting or whatever that the person is there for, apart from selling the talent is not being talked about much in detail, but the hindrances and a personal story. And the dad used to work in a train company, the dad used to work in the a training company, and the mom used to do silai buna in a particular store. So all those tiny little things that touches the emotions of the particular audience, this is actually a personal brochure in a video form for that particular contestant, right? So this is what a brochure does. It connects you personally to a particular audience that you really want them to be a part of your prospective client list. So yes, it has to be personal. You have to talk about your personal story. Where did you go schooling, or what was your goal in life, what did you do? So maybe you are a science graduate, and then you had this inclination towards doing a business, and you come back to India and you start doing a small business with very little money that you have as savings. And it can be interesting depending on what your story is. Anything that is personal will always be memorable for the people who are reading your brochure at the moment. Step number three, write the story in a third person perspective. If I talk about what I did, where I came from, and how I came into education, and how I became a faculty or a professor, definitely people are going to feel that, look at her, she is bragging again and telling things about her own self. But if a third person is talking about you, if a third person is telling things about you from a third person perspective, if it is written in a particular brochure, then definitely it has more weight, it sounds more realistic. And yes, the language needs to be really nice. It has to feel like you are trying to connect with the audience or with the readers. Step number four is to create a knockout cover. See, even if it's the most selling magazine of the world, it still needs a really nice cover and a really good celebrity or a really nice catchy word, a headline, or what you call as something that is a swag line, to make sure that people pick up that magazine, even though that magazine is really famous and it doesn't need to do that, right? But it still does for every month issue. Similarly, the brochure needs to have a nice picture of yours or your company or anything that you want to talk about, depending on the story that you are putting in. A brochure needs to have a really knockout cover, and because it's a 3-ply one, on the back side you can write all the details where the particular reader can reach you, like the email, the logo, the slogan, the company address or the office address or the franchisees or your name or your email address. Whatever is the detail where people can reach you should be on the back side of the brochure, the flap, last flap ever. But on the front, it should be a really nice cover. Even if you have to spend a lot of money and bring in a professional to do a photo shoot, do it. Don't have a mugshot picture of yours like it is there on on a passport or on your Aadhaar card. No, not like those. It has to be really nice, it has to be really appealing, and it has to be something that looks so cheerful, appealing, colorful and wonderful that people want to pick it up. Of course, it has to be very nice quality paper, and that is where we are coming to our point number 5, that you have to choose a really nice, unusual size of a brochure, and you have to choose the right printer. Now choose a printer who is ready to do your postcards and your business cards and your brochures and all of them, because that is cheaper if you give them an entire marketing material package together. So it is cheaper that way. But any which ways, when you are attempting to create a brochure for your company, make sure you are telling the printer to give you heads up on a particular proofreading material that can be given to you. Do a nice proofreading, talk to at least 5 to 7 people, make them read the brochure and take their opinions, and then get the printing done. Make sure your printer also knows how to align them. Make sure that you also know and your printer also know. It has to be neat and clean, and it has to be absolutely appealing to the eyes, not too messy, not too tiny pictures. And if you are putting up pictures, so for example, if a construction company is there and it wants to talk about what was the first project that the great grandfather put across, what was the first building they made, or what was the first bridge they made, probably there are pictures which have a lot of intricate details. In that case, you need to have a really big brochure. A big brochure this size is also fine, but as far as it looks nice, it looks neat, clean, and it has those really nice glossy expensive papers. Even if it is expensive, try and make a brochure that looks extremely appealing and people would want to pick it up the moment they see it, right? Moving on, there is a very nice term that is given in the book which is called gang running. That means that the same press does the designing, the printing, the proofreading and all the other branding material printing for you. And I think it's a very nice term if you use it in front of your friends or in front of your comrades, people who you go networking with. It always helps when you're using certain swag words. We'll talk about printing the postcards in the next video. By this time you should read the entire part where they are talking about making and printing brochures. I want you to read through that before we move down to the postcards part of this particular chapter. See you in the next video. Till then, take care, stay indoors, read and read the text, read the notes, and yes, if you have any doubts, any questions, I am just a Google Classroom away. See you around.